Hello, how are you? It's Iona, your confidence and empowerment coach. I trust you're having a good one. I just completed my Thursday Upgrade Your Self-Confidence Masterclass. The theme of the masterclass was feeling not good enough. I had a lot of people who were participating who were shy, right? Who experienced shyness growing up. And as somebody who also struggled with shyness growing up, I can say that it came from a place of feeling afraid of being seen, feeling afraid to be seen and criticised and judged and called out. It came from a place of feeling not good enough. It came from a place of feeling like it was scary. It was scary to be myself. To put myself out there. And it's really interesting because I wasn't shy for a long time until I perhaps experienced being told that I was too much, or that I needed to tone it down, or that perhaps I was drawing attention to myself, and whomever I was with did not feel safe. The adult that I was with perhaps didn't feel safe with that level of attention on them, or whatever it was, right? And then of course I picked up on that feeling of lack of safety. I felt like I needed to feel like it was unsafe to be seen, also because perhaps I was behaving in a way that was not appropriate, but it was, not wanted. It was, it was like I was probably being silly. I was probably being silly, being a menace. I was probably being doing what kids do, right? Playing, being silly, being a dafty, right? It's this very Scottish word, being daft. It's probably just being daft, and that perhaps triggered something in an adult or someone who then told me that I had to stop, or I had to settle down, which gave me the perspective that I shouldn't do that I should be more, that I should be quieter, that I should sit still, that I should not draw attention to myself, that I should be not doing things that are silly, that are daft, which of course creates a perspective. It creates a belief that it's not safe to be silly or daft for that reason, because we're going to get told that we shouldn't do it, right? And there's nothing worse than being told that you shouldn't do something, right? That you need to stop doing something. And it feels bad. And it feels bad because it's your body's internal guidance system telling you that this is going against your truth. This is going against who you are, right? Hi, Rasheen. How you doing? So the feeling of not good enough, right? If you have ever experienced feeling not good enough, whether that's in as a person, just generally, right? In work, in school or university, or wherever you went, in relationships, in friendships, in life, where did that come from, right? When did that start? When did that first show up? And who gets to decide who is good enough? What is good enough? Define freaking good enough, right? The baby that's born, right? Fresh, brand new baby. Are they good enough? If that baby grows up and does things and makes mistakes, are they still good enough? If that baby goes to school and doesn't fit in at school or doesn't do well at school, are they good enough? Right? Is good enough one of these things that it depends, right? It depends on what you're doing, if you're good enough for it or not. But what if you're always good enough, right? What if you're always good enough? I'm going to take this opportunity to do a little, bring it in. Let's bring it in. Let's bring in that feeling of good enough. So place your hand at the center of your chest. Breathe in and out. Close your eyes. Tap into good enoughness. If you were to feel good enough, if you were to be good enough, what would that feel like? What would that be like, right? If you were to be good enough, if you were to feel good enough, what would that be like? What would that feel like right now in this moment? Let's tap into that feeling. What if you were enough? What would it be like to be enough? What if you can't tap into that feeling right now? What do you think being enough feels like? What do you think being good enough feels like? And this is something that I find fascinating because it's something that I'm still very much working on. And you can absolutely always be working on stuff and helping others with it at the same time. I feel like that's very extremely powerful. That's a very powerful thing, is to be aware of stuff that we've got going on and be helping other people to identify and move through it too, because we're helping each other, right? So I just finished my Upgrade Your Self-Confidence Masterclass, right? And I tend to leave feeling like, did I give them enough, right? And it's a free masterclass, right? But I feel like I grew up with this really heavy, really like intense belief of not being enough, right? Whilst at the same time being too much, right? How messed up is that? That's dualistic, that's split energy if ever there was one, right? Feeling too much and not enough at the same time. What the hell does that mean? What the F is that all about, right? So I feel like I leave these masterclasses, right, feeling like I didn't give enough, or I didn't do enough, and I'm not enough. When I probably tend to overgive. If anyone ever has met me or know me, especially with the say it ain't so stuff, I do a lot. Like, I give a lot. And part of me believes that, a part of me, like, I love that, like, aspect of myself. And I feel like I want to give to so many people, especially those who don't have, because I feel like it should be accessible to everyone, regardless of where you are, regardless of where you are in your financial circumstances and whatever, right? And where you are in your journey. And when people are inspired to, or excited to, and ready to pay me, then they can, right? And I'm open to receiving that, and that's awesome. But there's this constant perspective and feeling of not being enough whilst being too much at the same time. Like, I tend to talk fast and a lot, and in an intense kind of way. And if people can't keep up, right? I say in the masterclass, if you can't keep up, then watch the recording, because I'm going to go fast. We're going to go through this. We're going to move through this fast. And I had to repeat myself. People ask me to repeat myself often, and that's okay. Mostly probably because of my accent, right? And that's fine. But something that I'm constantly working on is feeling enough, feeling good enough, right? I know that as a coach, if I was to do this work a year ago, 2 years ago, I absolutely did not feel good enough. I felt like I wasn't ready. It didn't feel safe to show up. Did not feel safe to do lives, even though I did it. It did not feel safe to do lives at all, but I freaking did it because I know how important consistency is in showing up. And I feel like I wanted to do it, right? I had it was an inspired action. It still is an inspired action, me showing up and sharing with you. So in order for me to teach you how to feel good enough, and that it's possible, and that you are enough, then I must tap into that. I must feel that too. I must feel good enough. I have to teach myself and train myself to feel good enough, because it feels good. And it's relief, right? It feels like relief. Like, okay, I am enough. I am good enough. So I don't need to spend the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all whole nights picking apart everything I said and everything I did, worrying about who, was it enough and am I enough? Because it already is, right? Hi, how you doing? It already is enough, right? You already are enough. So if you don't know how to feel enough, if you don't know how to feel good enough, take a moment with me right now and imagine, what would it be like? What would it feel like if you were enough? If you were good enough, what would that be like? What would that feel like? How would you feel? Can you tap into that feeling right now? So personally, if I imagine what finishing a masterclass feels like, feeling enough, it feels like relief. It feels like a F yeah, hell yeah, yes, I'm so excited. I just did that awesome thing. It feels so good. I've just totally transformed these people. I just spread my energy. I shared my vibes. I helped people to feel good. That's enough. Me just showing up was enough, right? Instead of giving them like a whole hour and a half masterclass, right? It feels relief. It feels exciting. It feels good. It feels happy. It feels content. It feels easy. It feels effortless. So I tap into that feeling or those feelings, and it feels like enough. And then I can go about my day, the rest of my day, feeling enough, feeling good enough. And that's so freaking powerful, because you identifying that, what it feels like to feel good enough and what it feels like to feel enough, helps other people to do the same. Because once you walk into a room feeling good enough and feeling enough, people feel it. Other people feel it without you having to even open your mouth, because we're energetic beings first and foremost, right? Everything is energy. We're just a collection of molecules floating around at a certain frequency. Everything is energy. You are an energy. You are good enough. You are enough. Okay, have a beautiful rest of your evening. I'm taking the week off, so you probably might not see much of me. I'm going to post my videos as usual on my stories, but I'm probably not going to go live again this week. Have a beautiful rest of your week and a gorgeous weekend, and I will see you soon. Remember, you're enough.